and welcome back to All Things Divine. I am your host, Erica Dontello. And remember, I told you this month we are going to have bonus episodes. So, on this podcast, we discuss wellness within your home. Your home is your mind, body, spirit, and physical environment. And I believe that everything starts at home, meaning that it starts with you. So, it is Black History Month, and we are going to take this moment to discuss my personal Black history in addition to our weekly episodes. Now, my goal with doing this is to encourage people to look within themselves and possibly change some negative or incorrect thoughts you had about Black history and even American history in general. Because I strongly believe that African American history is a huge part of American history. So let's go ahead and let's just jump right into it. Now, I'm going to take you back. We're in year 2024. We're going to rewind back to the year of 2020. Now, during COVID and at the height of George Floyd and the horrific incidents that took place, I was so triggered because number one, during that time, you really saw people crack. The world was in lockdown, and I saw spiritually and energetically how many people were not okay to sit by themselves. Within the first week, they cracked under pressure, and I honestly feel that I saw their true personalities come out. There's no way that anyone's going to convince me otherwise. Now, I know whenever we get stressed or just, I'll just say stressed. When there's extreme stress, it's locked down, people are losing their jobs, companies are shutting. That can definitely take a toll on someone. So I am not discounting that at all. And of course, I can't show examples of what I saw so that you could have a better understanding. But let's just say that with that aside, I saw people's true personalities. Now, the COVID lockdown officially was declared on March 12th of 2020. And then the George Floyd murder happened on camera on May 25th, 2020. So when that happened, I saw so many people saying, America's not racist, and if you think so, go back to Africa. Or they would say, it's not my fault what my ancestors did. Get over it. This is the year of 2020. And people would even put up statistics online showing that Black people statistically kill each other more than white people to justify this man and what we saw all around the world of him and his treatment and his final moments. Seek Jesus, Heaven Made is a brand that strives to provide high quality Christian apparel for believers and followers of Christ. They have the most affordable and comfortable active and leisure clothing. Now, their mission is to spread the gospel of Christ throughout the world while supporting those on the mission field. And a portion of all sales are donated towards several mission fields. Dedicated to serve and spread the gospel around the world, they want your clothing to start a conversation. Visit them at seekjesus.co. I remember sitting there with my blood boiling because honestly, I was thinking, number one, this is pure ignorance and these people are missing the point. Number two, why the hell are they not even trying to educate themselves, especially if they have friends and family members that are people of color? And number three, what the fuck? Why are they saying go back to Africa when I'm not even fully African? Now, this is something that I have known my entire life, and I reached out to get a DNA test to find all of my ethnicities because I have always known that I was indigenous and I knew that my father was of Caucasian descent, but I wanted to know exactly what I was. I wanted the details. I wanted to trace my roots, and for a long time, I could not find African in my blood. I just couldn't find it. I found so many other ethnicities just doing the family tree. And so I ended up talking to my uncle, And he told me, keep looking because it has to be there. And he said that he knows that our ancestors mixed with Africans. So what he was meaning was that the native Indians, they mixed with Africans that came over. And he told me, if anyone can find African descent in us, it will be you. And who cares if people don't believe that you have Indian in you? We know that we do, and that's all that matters. And so that conversation alone, I was like, yes, uncle, I'm going to push through. I will find African descent in me. So I kept searching. I mean, I searched for months and I finally found African ancestors. And of course, on a later episode, I will get into their story because although I don't really know a lot of their story, I know a lot about the slave owners, and it's wild, y'all. So, of course, also by then, I got back my DNA results and it confirmed that I do have Nigerian in me. Now, I would love to know the actual tribe, but I have not gotten that far. And I just want to know, like, what tribe did I come from? Because I would love to go there and just be there and just take it all in. But that's the same for my other ancestors. I mean, especially knowing the ethnicities that I have in me that showed up in my DNA. I would like to go and just sit on, an Indian reserve, the one that, I'm attached to, of course, and just watch them and just learn the culture. Okay, so let me stop because now I'm starting to daydream and I'll get back to this story. So, what I found out, and some people may hear me say that I am British, Swiss, and Italian. The British comes from my mother's side and the Swiss and Italian from my father's, and both of them have indigenous DNA on their sides. So I'm going to personally share with you my actual personal Black history. And after doing research and matching with some of my new cousins in England, I have found that my ancestors played a huge part in American, African, and European history. Now, I may not like some of the things that I read and the articles, the books, and all of those things where they were mentioned, and I may not like all of that. But I have to say that my ancestors were pretty badass. So each week in February, I'm going to talk about my ancestors, starting with my 12th great grandfather, Peter Ware. He played such a huge part with migrating to the Americas, but he also played a huge part in England. Now, I won't go into detail about him right now because when I start piecing everything together and getting information from my new cousins in England, it's so much information that I'm like, okay, well, where do I start with this dude? Well, I mean, I know I can talk about him coming over to the Americas and the part that he played there. And I mean, he was pretty well known, but he also was really well known in England. So I'm not sure. Y'all, I don't know how I'm going to start with this dude. He has a lot going on, and so did his offspring. Which, hello, here we are. I'm the offspring. Look at me on all things divine. Okay, so we won't go into detail about him this episode. And this episode is really just, I'll call it a pre-show. But by now, some people may be thinking that I am full of shit. And I would call that a surface mentality. And a surface mentality only sees what they want. They aren't able to go deeper by gaining more attention or listening and even asking questions to gain more knowledge. And they're just really difficult to talk to in general. Now, I'm really sorry for you and I'm sorry about that, but this show will go on. But later on in an episode, especially since this whole podcast is about personal development and wellness, we will talk about surface mentality and we'll cross that bridge whenever we get there. But right now, this is a bonus episode about Black history. So, and I want to educate people to understand that my Black history is rich. My ancestors are also white. They are indigenous. They are African. And although I may not like, again, the part that they played in history, I am so proud of who I am. Knowing about them has given me such an identity and understanding of why I am the way I am. Freedom Mastery is the number one life planner. It not only helps you get organized, but it also teaches you about manifestation. Now, their intention is to create the best tools, planners, and trainings that help you create freedom on all levels of life so that you can manifest your dream life. They have worldwide shipping, fast results, and over 500,000 users. So if you want to get organized while also manifesting your dream life and seeing it come to fruition, go ahead and check out Freedom Mastery at freedommastery.com. You will not regret it. Now, I want to share with you a story because this actually happened last night. I was out doing my thing. I was outside. I actually had watched a movie and I twisted my ankle. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get an Uber. I got to go. I got to go home. I'm in the Uber and the dude was so nice. And I knew that he was not originally from America because he had an accent. He was a person of color. And so I never ask someone if I hear an accent, oh, where are you from? It doesn't matter what color you are. I don't do that because it's just a personal thing. And I feel like it could be taken in a disrespectful way. And especially since things are so sensitive right now, like I just don't want to ask someone, like, where are you from? Because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to say, well, get out of America. Because I would never. So I don't even know what like how this initially started, but we were just talking and he said to me, he said something about like he's finally, after all these years of being here, that he finally knows the city. And so that's when I said, oh, really? Where are you from? And he said, I'm from Africa. And I said, okay, well, how long have you been here? And he said, 20 years. And we made a joke because I thought, okay, do I have to live here for 20 years before I know where to go? It was just a joke that we made with each other. We laughed. It was great. And so I said to him, well, he started telling me the tribe that he was from and all of these things. And I said to him, wow, this is so interesting because I recently did a DNA. I found um, that I am Nigerian. And he was like, oh, wow, like I have a friend that is Nigerian and he's from the Asante tribe. And he was like, are you Asante? And I said, I don't know. And he said, oh, well, that's when it clicked in his head, like, okay, well, then they were forcefully brought over. So he said, what generation are you of, being in America? And so I said, well, first of all, I thought, oh, wow, that's an interesting way to say it. And so I answered and I said, I believe that I'm the fifth or sixth generation. And he said, okay. And he started talking about Africa and like where he was from and his tribe. And we basically ended the conversation with me saying, well, and then by then I was already home, so I was getting out. And I actually sat in the vehicle and talked to him for a little bit longer. So thank you so much, Uber driver. You're so nice. I don't want to say his name, so I'm just saying Uber. But he said, it's really sad that you found where you were from, but you don't know anything. And yet I do, because my family was not forcefully brought over here and yours was, and you don't know your identity. And, I kind of got a little teary eyed because I was like, yeah, you're right. That's exactly how I feel. Even down to the indigenous, like, I know about them, but I don't know like more, if that makes any sense. Like, there's a missing puzzle, just like it is. Like, yes, I can say that I'm Nigerian, I have Nigerian in me. Um, but, and let me just say something while I'm mentioning Nigerian. Meghan Markle, who is Prince Harry's wife, she has 41% Nigerian in her. She has more than me. And look at her. Obviously, she is half white, but she has 41%, way more than me. So, surface mentality thinking, they will look at you and say, oh, well, you're darker. So, no, there's no way. Like, there's no way she has more Nigerian in her. Yes, it is a way. And she already said it, like, publicly. She does. Well, she didn't say it towards me, but like, she has 41% Nigerian in her. So I don't know if that means that her kids would. I don't know. Like, the DNA test that I took, I believe it will show up in her children as 41%, but the girl has way more of a percentage than me. So even though I am darker, she's more African than me. And I don't think that people like fully understand that. It's that surface mentality, y'all. Are we talking about wellness now? Are we about to get into wellness? But that is what I just want to say to that. So it was an interesting ride with the Uber driver, and he was so right because to me, again, like I was saying previously, I know the ethnicities that I am. And yes, I can read so much about them. There's so many articles, and I mean, they were just badass. But it's still that little missing puzzle piece to where I'm like, well, what tribe in Nigeria? Well, okay, I found out um, that I actually have Aztec in me, which is interesting because I knew that I had Cherokee and Choctaw in me. But Aztec showed up, and I was like, where'd that come from? I don't even know. I haven't even found that part of my family history. And even knowing the tribes, I'm just like, well, where exactly is there still a reserve? Can I go on there? Because I just want to step foot on where my ancestors were. It's so important to me. Like, it's such a huge part of my identity. And when you hear more about my Black history, and especially if you personally know me, it's going to make so much sense why I am the way that I am, because it has been passed down. And I want to highlight those people and just say thank you. Even if I feel like your story's a little ratchet, I will say thank you, because you being here once in this on this land in this country and in other countries, that's the reason why I'm here. And so I just have a deeper understanding about it, and I just can't wait to share it with everyone. And and something else happened the other day. This all actually happened on the same day. The Uber driver, and then this on social media. I won't say which platform, but I read a post the other day where someone they posted about illegals coming over to the US, and they were making such a big deal about it and saying how they need to come here and do it the right way and be legal. Now, I never try to get into those conversations because although I do feel like you should eventually be legalized, we have not been in a situation where we are running for their lives. Some of them are fleeing their countries, they're afraid, so they're coming over here to seek refuge. So why are we like throwing tomatoes basically? So I never try to heavily get in that situation. If I ever see something where I know that someone has flown, like fleed from their country, and they are here, and then there's another American just like harassing them, yeah, I'm definitely going to voice my concerns, but I'm just not fully educated in like who are the refugees? Why were they brought over here? What's going on? I don't like to talk about stuff if I'm not 100% educated on it. And that is a subject that I'm not always 100% educated on. So I try to just stay back with it. But there was this long post about it. So then that prompted some people saying, "Well, this ain't your country either. It belongs to the Native Indians, and you're here on stolen land. So why can't the refugees come over here?" Now, I'm not gonna lie. When I read that, I was like, "Yes, girl. Okay, push through. You are right. You are so right." So when this person commented that, because it was this one woman who had this long post about it, then a man came and he commented and said that Indians were not here first, that they came from Asia and migrated over and started slaughtering the Americans. And they were trying to steal the land from the Americans, and that's the story. And he was like, "I'm so sorry that you're brainwashed." And now some of that may have happened, but I was so annoyed because that is not my history. So you're not going to say that and claim it as that is actually what happened, because that didn't happen in my Black history. My ancestors were here first. The Native Indians that are on my tree were in this country and running for their lives when the country started being overtaken by Europeans coming over, until they started fighting back. So, unfortunately, with my history, my Black history, I actually wrote about this last year, and I will put that blog in the description so that everyone can read it. My Black history is my white ancestors, indigenous and African ancestors. That it was like a slaughterhouse. I had my European ancestors going to Africa, getting my other ancestors, bringing them to the Americas. Sorry, I'm saying it with an S. I know that that might annoy some people, but that is what it was at one time. Bringing them over to America, and when you're bringing them over, you're also taking, well, selling some of them to Native Americans. So obviously, we're going to mix that way. And then you're also slaughtering my other ancestors that were here. So it was like a bloodbath. No one is more innocent than the other. Now, I do feel that the Africans are innocent because they did not ask to be brought over here and treated the way that they were. So I'm a little bit more partial on my African American side, and that's okay. That's my choice. But I got a little triggered listening, well, not listening, but reading what this man said, because I thought, okay, now you're taking me all the way back to 2020 when I saw ignorant stuff like that posted online, you thinking that you are some type of history teacher and that what you say is what happened, and that is not what happened on my tree. Am I saying that Indians did not come over from Asia? No, I am not saying that. What I'm saying is that it may have happened on somebody else's tree, but on mine and what I traced, they were here first. So you can't assume that because someone is of darker skin tone that you just have them pegged as being African, Hispanic, or whatever other ethnicity. Not only lighter tone people can claim European countries. No, it's in other people. It's in me. We are all mixed together because, let's be 100% honest, our American quote unquote history, it's a clusterfuck. And a lot of things happen that like we don't fully even know the story of. And yes, people did document things. And I have documentation just on my family's family tree side. And it's amazing to see. But you have to be more open minded to what true history is. And we really don't know the story. Yes, did we grow up and have social studies in school and they printed little social studies books and we learned what America wanted us to learn. Yes, we did. That happened. But that is not history. And so I want for everyone, by the time I am done with my Black History series on top of our wellness series this month, I want for everybody to be encouraged to learn who you are. And don't just accept that just because you're darker skin tone, that you're 100% African. Because I don't claim that, because I honor my grandma Lucy, who was Native American. We will talk about her on one episode. Hey, Grandma Lucy. She was Native American, and she was so afraid. She got separated from her family. Um, but then they ended up finding each other, actually, except for her mother. Her mother was murdered. And she was so afraid to say that she was Native American that when, of course, census came around, she was like, yes, I'm Black, because she was terrified. She was pushed out of her home. She was running for her life because their land was being taken over. It was fighting and everything. So, with my family, we have learned to, over time, because she was so quiet about it, and she slowly, like as she got older and closer, I don't know, I don't want to say she was closer to her hundreds when she started telling people, because I'm not fully sure how old she was, but I know that she was much older. My mom was born, so at least 60 years ago, because my mom is 64, I believe. 63. She'll be 63. So at least 60 years ago is when she started saying who she actually was, because she felt more safe to say it. And that is sad. And because she was so afraid, my family kept that private. So, with me knowing that, I still, like, of course, my close friends knew that, but my family did not just offer that information up. And anytime that I was around someone that I felt would be just ignorant, I would just be like, yes, I'm Black. And I felt like even though I never met my grandma Lucy, I felt like I was mimicking what she did. Yes, well, and again, we all know about the census and how even when they knew that you were Native American, they said you were Black and you were Black. So let's not act like that did not happen. And I don't want to get too far into that story because that's another episode. But I did want to highlight that. So, thank you so much for listening to me today. I can't wait to provide more information on my ancestors and highlight their amazing stories. I say this joke to my friends when they ask, well, who are you going to start with first with your ancestors when you do your Black History series? And so I tell them, I'm going to start with the whites first. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and shake some stuff up. Because I really want to get the point across to people that we have to get out of that surface mentality. And, I was with someone at one point in time, and race was always being brought up. And so I was not going to admit to this person that, my father was actually biracial, because he is a tone, his skin tone definitely can pass as being, considered African American. But I knew that he was, biracial. I knew that he had white in his family. His relatives there, I mean, if you look at them, you would be like, girl, what are y'all mixed with on this side? Um, and so I was never going to say that, because I knew that the environment that I was around, it would just be a constant thing that was used to like poke. I wasn't going to say that I was indigenous. And that's really sad to be in a situation like that. But unfortunately, that happened to me. But now, child, I'm not in that situation. And I'm going to say who I am and be proud about it, regardless of what anyone says. And I want other people to feel that way too. I want you to own every part of your identity because that is so important in growing within your home. And I'm always going to come back to the home base. That's part of your identity. That's part of who you are. Don't hide who you are. And I hope that after you hear this series, that you get encouraged, you find more out about your identity, and you rock that shit. So, until next time, friends, I will see you on the airwaves. Bye.